Hey, what's going on? My name is Tim. I'm one of the co-founders here at Scary Good Marketing, and we help take the fear out of marketing and advertising your business using battle-tested strategies and creativity to bring you a better ROI. And today we want to do something a little bit different in our lives. We're doing Ask an Advertiser. So we're really just going to open this up for you to ask any questions that you have when it comes to marketing or advertising your business. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so what I want to do is let me jump on over here to the chat. And I am actually going to post a link where you can jump on with me and we can talk advertising. And if you don't want to jump on live, you can go ahead, post your questions in the chat and we can dive into it. And like I said, really what I just want to do is try and help give you as much clarity as possible when it comes to marketing and advertising, because I know that marketing and advertising is something that is exciting, but it's also a little scary at times. So that's really what I want to do. So what's going on, Mark? And that's really the big thing. Right, because marketing and advertising is just so crucial when it comes to your business. And I don't just say that because we are in marketing and advertising. I really say it because it is the thing that is going to really help drive your business, right? Because if you don't have customers or people don't know, like, trust you, and you're just not putting out offers, you're not going out and finding new customers, it becomes very difficult for you to be sustainable in your business. So that's really the big thing there. So, you know, there's all kinds of different ad campaigns, all kinds of different things that you could potentially be doing. And really what I tell a lot of people is if you're not advertising yet, you're still trying to figure it out, you're still wanting to maybe you're waiting or you don't think things are quite ready for you to start advertising, I would try to challenge you to, start looking at starting advertising, because it really can't hurt going out and getting more people to at least know who you are. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think the Bluetooth is not plugged in. Hey, I just have a question. By the way, like, this is so valuable. And first of all, thank you for doing this. It's like free stuff, like from like everybody that's like watching this on YouTube. So it's really valuable. And it's like, I can tell you enough like about like in my terms, it's like I am an expert in the field of engineering, but in terms of advertising and marketing, like it's fairly new to me, and I'm learning more and more that I don't know a lot, like marketing and like advertising. So like it's very, very, very helpful. So like the question I had, like personally that I'm encountering right now is with like a website. I know for a fact that like website is very, very important, and then like customer experience is going to be like very, very important in the website, right? So I'm looking into like a lot of like tools into like what affects like an effective website versus not an effective website. So like the first thing that I notice is that in terms of website, according to the statistics that I personally own for my website, 85% of my customers are on a mobile device. So therefore, I should really pay attention to the performance of the mobile device part. Now, the question is this. I know the tool PageSpeed from Google. You're familiar with that, right? Yeah. So the score that I'm getting at best, maybe my website is like kind of complicated, is like a 30 something. 31, 32 on a HP, on a mobile device. The question is that a good enough speed, or should I like aim for like higher speed on my website? And then like what's like middle ground, or like I just suck?
Yeah. No, I know website speed is something that there's always so much of a balance of everything. And normally a lot of people, I think they just think that like, oh, like maybe I need to like compress my images, or maybe I need that. There's so much that factors into web speed.
I went there.
Like, yeah, right. Like, you have your image compression, or you have videos, are they hosted on there? Are they like whatever, like, right, all that kind of stuff. So one is, I would always say, try to always improve the speed. Now, with that, I don't necessarily know what a like benchmark. Like, to me, I'm like, I think as long as you're trying to always improve it, right? And it depends on the website, right? Like, to run like Amazon takes, obviously crazy servers and things, and all the stuff. So I think that's the big thing. Is one is, yes, page speed does matter, and Google does rank your page based on how fast your website loads and that kind of stuff. Of course, they have like the is it AMP? Can never remember the acronym, but there's like the AMP pages that are supposed to load faster, but you can't have like things like Java and a few other certain things you can't have on there.
Plugins and what CSS and like JavaScript and whatnot.
Yeah. So my thing is, I'm like, if you could create that, that's obviously the best. But like, even like for what we do, we don't have that, because, certain stuff, like we have videos, we have that kind of stuff. I would always just look at trying to improve it. The thing that helped us probably the most is, one is obviously what kind of hosting do you have? Because like 99% of people are on like shared hosting, and shared hosting is always going to be slower, right? And then, so if you can get like your own,
it's a cost and price like part in that. Like, so like, what do you recommend, like typically for your like clients? Like if you're working with somebody, like what would you recommend, like say?
Yeah, my thing is like shared hosting isn't bad. I think it depends on, right, like if you can figure out how many people are on there and how big your website is, right? Like if I was going to set up a directory website, I would not be on shared hosting, because it just wouldn't work. Now, if you're just like what I'm going to say is just like an average local business, I think you can get away with shared hosting. But then what I would look at is a CDN. So my recommendations for CDNs is, we use BunnyNet. And the reason I like BunnyNet is because they only charge you for what you use. So like, if you don't have a lot of traffic, you're not going to be paying, every month for traffic that you're not even using. And it's really, really affordable. I think like for our website, we only are paying like maybe per month like $1.
Wow.
At the most. And the other nice thing is, we use them also because we have like a lot of video content and that kind of stuff, and we can actually upload our videos to them and then bring them in, and they just load a lot faster. And they actually just launched they call it Bunny Stream, where you upload the stuff and they do all the encoding. So they'll take your video and essentially do the different resolutions, and then based on the end user, it'll find the best resolution based on their stuff. And it's the same thing. We only pay for what is used. And I really like it. I haven't had any problems. And you can pick, because they have CDNs pretty much globally. So you can pick, like, do you just want stuff in the US? Do you want stuff overseas? Like, based on what where your clients are coming from. Yeah, so that's what I would recommend to start with. And then if you, realistically, to me, I always look at like, I get every phone that I have and every person I know that has a phone to like go to our website, like see, like, and just ask them, like,
It looks
do you
okay.
think that did it seem like it took forever? And if it does, then I would continuously like be doing that stuff. Is just figuring out. Normally, to me, I think it's always a lot of like images are not. Most people just upload whatever. I uploaded like 10 raw files, and I'm like, well, you wonder why it's slow.
There's a two-part question because like all the things that you have basically brought up, like the raw files. I mean the file sizes is like PNG, JPEG is like the question on that. But what I found out is like there's like optimizers for like images and things that you can use for that. But I think, like the rule of thumb would be like to basically like compress it yourself and then upload it to the website, and it would be like much better because you're in control. And the second part is like with the video that you were like talking about, like isn't that kind of counter on in terms of SEO if you put your video in the bunny net stream thingy, because like it's not going to like help you in terms of SEO because the number of views in like your YouTube thing is like not going to be.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you need to keep in mind. And to me, one is if you're wanting to take advantage of the SEO kind of stuff. So like for us, like we have like certain internal videos that we use that like once we have a client, they're the only ones that see it. So those go on BunnyNet because SEO at that point doesn't matter.
No, it's going to be private.
And it can be like maybe an onboarding video or something, right? But as far as like if you want SEO videos, my thing is find, and one is it's always hard because it depends on who you're running your website through. So like we do everything in WordPress.
Yeah,
so
like WordPress is just like so much easier, and then like I'm using a shared service for like the hosting, SiteGround. Of course, you're familiar with it. Yeah, but the part that I was like having a problem right now is like I guess like I'm trying to find out like what's a standard practice and like what's acceptable in my target audience is just like US based. So like I'm trying to find out like one, if my score is like 30 on a mobile, like in perspective of Google, it's really bad. It's in the red. So it's like, should I really pay attention to that? Like get it up to like 50? Or should I just like focus on like something else? Cause like I'm basically, I don't know because like I don't have like that much experience in like what other companies are doing. And then like I'm trying to figure out like am I doing in the right track? Or am I chasing a ghost? Or like, I don't know.
Yeah, Lisa, my thing is it's something that as you start getting more traffic, it is going to play a factor, right? Obviously, the more people like, right, if I snapped my fingers and sent 100,000 people to your website, it could probably crash and then, right? So that's why I think it's kind of a balancing act. One is it's always better to like have it sooner than later is my kind of thing.
That's basically like that's the same concept that I was like trying to figure out. Like, do it right from the start, and then like have a opportunity to grow into that service, or like have a basically future-proof your business or future-proof your like website. Like so, like if it scales, then you're ready for it. Like you don't like chase it. Basically.
Yeah, and what I would do is so like I said, if you're on SiteGround now, there's a whole bunch of other like I said, I've never used SiteGround. I know it because like if you're in WordPress world, you know it. So I like there's love-hate with every host platform out there. I don't use that, but so I can't speak on that. But one is I would look at and I wouldn't say like the last thing I would do is upgrade my like where it's being hosted, right? Because if you get a dedicated server, you can just transfer everything. To me, that's the easiest step, but I would look at like BunnyNet because you only pay for what you use. It's ridiculously affordable. I like it, in my opinion, I like it way more than like Cloudflare or any of the other CDNs out there. What I would also look at is WP Rocket because they integrate with Bunny. So Bunny integrates with them. So I would first start with just BunnyNet, then look at WP Rocket, and then I would move to a higher server. That's how I would do it in steps if I was like as you grow. And that's kind of how we do it. Like right now, like we have BunnyNet, we have WP Rocket, and then like as we need a bigger server, we can move to a bigger server.
I see.
Yeah, so that's how we kind of do it.
What's your decision making part like on like what's unacceptable? It's like a gray area question. Sorry, like say like how much is there like a measurement that you say like, okay, like it's time to like after I reach this milestone, like I'm going to go now to like a different server or like, you know, like a private server instead of like a shared hosting plan kind of thing?
The big thing that I just try to look at is what are the bandwidth limits, right? Like because one is like if you figure, okay, like if your website is, you know, however big your website is, and then you figure, okay, divide that by whatever the bandwidth is. That's probably, I would say like that's about maybe how many people you can have viewing your website at once. And then I would divide that by half and say, if we hit that number, we should probably move. I like to just play it safe. Like to me, I am not like, we do a lot of website stuff and we do a lot of that, but that is not like my expertise. I have somebody that like does a lot of that. And I'm like, that's just how we kind of look at it and how I like to think about it, because like I've worked with a few companies that have like lots and lots of people. And the worst thing is like if you are launching something or you're doing a big promotion and you send a bunch of people and then the website crashes.
Yeah, that would be the worst thing, because like one, you pay for it, and then two, like you lost your client because it doesn't even load, and then like you just like wasted the whole effort, like basically. So like that's what I want to prevent, like if you're future-proofing. So like that's kind of the reason why I inserted the question in the first place, is because like right now at like 39, and then like I know I'm using a shared hosting plan. Like I was going to ask you indirectly of like, do you know like what's the upper limit of like what I can handle and what I can't handle in like or something? I don't know.
Yeah, and like I said, with SiteGround, I don't know how. I'm just curious. Like I said, I haven't looked at SiteGround in like, I don't know, 10,000 years, but what is the cost on it? Like, I guess that's my big thing. Do you know?
I think it's pretty cheap, depending on like, because like they have a number of years of like plans that you can do. I think like the one that I'm paying is like $20-something a month or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So room to grow. Yeah. So then that's basically the way I see it is like it's a starting point, and then if I want to grow more, like then I upgrade to like a better plan, or like you said, like go to like a private thing. But I wanted to do like say like options. Like first, like is my mobile, because the main question is basically like how do you make sure that like if a customer or a client like visits your website, and then how do you make sure that like when they, because 85% of them are in mobile, like when they visit your website, that your website will load like fast enough that you will not have like, because you can't really measure, there's no statistics of like how many bounce out of your website, like how many like, because it doesn't load in like 2 seconds, therefore they closed it and then like move on with their life or something. Like attention span is like attention span, right? Like with millennials. So basically like trying to gauge of like as somebody who has experience in like this field, because like I'm not really an expert on that. I'm a computer engineer, but like I don't like I didn't pay attention to this until like recently, is basically like what I'm saying.
So there's a few things. One is you can, like Google Analytics obviously can show you some of your bounce rate and that kind of stuff. One is, like I said, anytime that we do like any updates, anything to our website, like I said, I try to have as many people look at it on mobile and kind of see like, how is it loading? One is like, obviously, if you can use caching, that's going to help when you have like obviously repeat visitors, but like first time visitors, you still have that. So the other thing that you can do is there's a service called Hotjar. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. Essentially, they like record, you can literally see a video recording of when people go to your website and how long they're on there. I believe that as long as you have their like code towards the top of your website where it's like one of the first things read, it will start showing you as the website's loading, and you can kind of, it's not 100% like every time it's going to do that, but that kind of can give you a gauge of like if somebody clicks on it and then you kind of see it and there's like 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds before a page pops up, you know that like, and if it pops up and then they leave right away, it's probably because it didn't load fast enough. Like I said, I don't think that there's, and I could be wrong, like I haven't found a way to know exactly. And to me, it's the same thing. Like if you look at Google, it says one thing, and then there's the other 10 other speed test websites that say it's good. This one says it's bad. That one says it's mediocre.
Right. Yeah, so, basically, like I think I'm on the same like assumption as you, like basically on like bounce rate on this, and then like with the score, like I think I'm on the same page as you, that like don't really pay attention to it too much, like as long as it's like fast enough, and especially with the US, because the US like the internet bandwidth in here like on a mobile device is like pretty okay versus like the rest of the world. But the thing is, like in case like you're in a small town or something, then you might like have issues in that. But you know, like might as well like try to pay attention to like 95% acceptance rating of like what's going to be acceptable, and then like proceed from there. And that's the part that like, so like you personally for your website, like you don't like really pay attention to the page speed like score?
Like I said, we do, but it's one of those that I think is just like anything. Like I think that some people are like, man, I want to get 100, but then it's like, you can, like I can get 100, but my page cannot be a page that's converting. Like, so that's the thing, is like, to me, that's why I think that there is a balance, but I don't look at it as like, to me, realistically, the thing that's more important is like how many people went to the website and how many of them converted into whatever I want, right? And it's not always, I always have to say, it's not always income, right? It could be like how many people opted in for my lead magnet. Like if that's like, how many of them did that? How many of them did, booked an appointment? How many of them, like, that's what I want to look at. And like, if you have a lot of traffic and you're just not seeing the conversions, I would at least look at, what happens if maybe we try to just go from like if you're at 30, if we go to 40, does that even help anything? And if you don't see like a drastic change, then it's probably something more like copy. I would look at those things first, in my opinion.
It might be like something else because of that. Like, so like your page speed is like just like one factor of like many factors of like knowing if it's an effective website or not.
Yeah, and the big thing is I'm like, because especially if you have like a lot of traffic and you're getting a lot of conversions, but you're still like then that's really whenever I would still look and be like, okay, like, can we make this faster? Because if we can make it faster, we may not lose as many people, because some people may go and the page just for whatever reason isn't loading fast enough for them, so they're leaving. So if we can, like, to me, that would be one of the, I don't want to say last things, because I always feel like it's like,
there's so many things.
Nothing else matters, but you know what I mean? Like, if you still have a lot of conversions, but you want to, like, it's all the small things that will continue to add up. But to me, I would, especially at the beginning, like, obviously you need to have a website that loads, but I don't think it's as crucial as like the copy on your page. Because like I said, I can go and I can create a page right now that's like an AMP page and have it 100%. but that doesn't mean it'll convert people.
Actually, with that, I tried it. I tried basically creating a blank page, and then like I was trying to get a score of 100. I could never get a score of 100, like with like the shared hosting. I think it's like probably a limitation of like bandwidth or because of the shared hosting. Even a blank page, just like one text, like this should be 100. Like that's all my website say, and like I still can get a score of 100.
Yeah. Normally, like I said, the thing that's going to, if you want to just rapidly increase the page speed, go with like what is it, VPS, VP, whatever. I don't know. I can never remember all the acronyms of all the things. The like virtual hosting or just a dedicated hosting, and it'll be way faster. Like it'll be like night and day. Like that's the fastest way.
I have experience on because I'm coding like an app basically. Like I have experience with like Firebase hosting, and Firebase hosting is the only weak thing about like Firebase hosting is it doesn't have support for WordPress, or rather like it's like a weak support for WordPress. But the cool thing about it is that for the past 3 years that like I'm developing on it, like with my basically like you need to know like what Firebase does. It's like basically it's a hosting plan from Google. It's like it has like multiple servers around the world and whatnot. Like, but anyway, the point is like for the past 3 years that I'm like developing on it and like having my website on it, it was on Angular. I paid $0 for for that. So that was cool until the point that I learned there are stages of like as a business owner, you're gonna say like website is important for me, and it's like in the beginning it's like website is important, but it only means that I need to have a website. And then like towards the middle, like website is important, but it has a connotation meaning of like I need to pay attention to copy, to demo reel, to whatever. And then like so, and then like right now it has a different meaning. Like website is important because now I don't just pay attention to that. I need to pay attention to like, all right, I need to pay attention to page speed, to load speed, to like advertising, to marketing, and then to like reach, conversion rate, and whatnot. So like that's like different stages of like you said the same word, like website is important, but it has like different meaning depending on like what stage you are on like the business.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like saying like this is what you do, because I'm like it really depends, right? Like everyone's in a different place, and like you can't just go from like 1 to 500 and like think it's fine. And that's why, like I said, it's web hosting and that kind of stuff. It does play a factor, but that's why to me it's one of those that's really just going to be dependent on how much traffic you're driving or projected traffic, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I think like there's going to be like a rule of thumb that we both can agree on. Like, say, if you're starting a business, like you should always have a good copy in your website. Like that's one. Like it's never not an option to have a good copy on your website. Number two is like the video. Like it's in this case, like FFA is like basically like a media concentrated like people. So like you need to have like good of that, and then three is like basically you need to have Google Analytics. And I think advertising is also needs to be on everybody's mind. Like right from the get-go, don't even build a website if you don't have SEO in mind. Like I would say that. I wish somebody had told me this, but would you agree on that? Like say like, don't even build a website if you don't know how to do SEO on that website. Because like you're gonna have to redo everything anyway. Like if you don't like put like SEO in the forefront of your website, and then like there's more, but I forgot. Anyway.
Yeah, and my thing is I think I can, in my opinion, I'll half agree with that. And the only reason I say half agree is I'm not saying that SEO is not important, but it also, I think the key factor is it depends on like where you're at, right? Because like to a degree, like if you had, right, like if you had $10,000 just in ad costs when you started your business, you can still have a high converting website and do everything. even if your SEO is not great.
Yeah.
Now, SEO is not going to hurt you, but I do agree that like SEO is important. It's something that a lot of people don't think about and don't consider. And it is always easier to do it when you start than try to go back and like if you had like 50 blog posts and you had to go back and redo SEO on all of that,
that would suck.
Yeah, to me, I would much rather just hire somebody to do it and just be like, you go and do all the things. But like it's easier to start. And I think that the other thing is you don't have to be an SEO expert to start.
No,
you just need to I think if you have the basic knowledge and you can have the foundation in place, you can always have a company come in, do SEO work, and make it better. It's just difficult when it has never been done and it's never been even considered. That's the hard thing. It's like somebody building a house and making a small backyard and then being like, you know what, I want to build a pool. It's kind of difficult to do.
Just that,
You know, so I do agree though.
Yeah, the SEO part, like I think you should do the keyword research right from the get-go, and then so you can use it as a S1, like your H1 header in your website, and then like proceed from there to like just basically like yeah.
But well, to me, I'm always surprised. Like when we do website audits, I'm always surprised how many websites don't even have H1 heading tags at all.
I did. I was.
You know, like, but the thing is like, granted, like when I first built my very first website, it was not great. So
yeah, me too.
You know, there's a learning curve, there's a learning process. But I'm like, you know, whenever you build a lot of websites and you do it so much, you start to learn the things and do the stuff. And so it's like I said, there's a lot of stuff. But I think the other big thing that a lot of people, especially in the like small business, starting up business, I think that a lot of people think that like I'm gonna have somebody build my website or I'm gonna build my website and then that's it. And I'm like, your website is going to be changing all the time. I'm like, it's never really done. So, because like I said, you know, I was talking with somebody today, and you know, I mentioned to them, I was like, you know, like your website needs to talk about your market, what's going on currently within your market that you're serving, because if you don't, then like. Right, like it's funny because like with COVID, like if you go to a restaurant's website and they don't mention anything about COVID, the first thing that pops into my head is, well, maybe they're out of business, because they're not even addressing what's happening. Like they're not like, oh, here's our adjusted hours, here's how we're being safe, and I think that a lot of people miss the mark on that, where they just think like, well, I had my website built back in, you know, 1993 and it's fine.
Like they don't pay attention to like most people. I think like most like business owners, I would say like most business owners, like once they have a website and then they load on a desktop, that's all they hear about. And then like they don't pay attention to like analytics, they don't pay attention to conversion rate, advertising, to like how it works, or like they have like some pretty pictures but like has nothing to do with the business. It's like I have like basically encountered like a lot of that too. Like in the like, I went to that same stage also. Like basically like when I start like with FFA, like I didn't pay attention to like media like in terms of like demo reel is actually like pretty great, but I was held back when I noticed that like media is actually one of the blocking points with website like loading fast enough. Like so it's like so now there's like a scale of like, okay, like where do you put the middle ground? It's like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable on your website design, and like in terms of like advertising, like you know, like this is all kind of like
the best thing that you can do if you're one is use, in my opinion, use like always use something else to host your videos, right? Don't host them on your website. It's going to slow it down. And then the same thing is like if you're using YouTube or any of them, if your video player allows for what's called lazy load, use lazy load, and also don't use use the, what is it? I think it's like anonymous tracking or something, whatever it is for YouTube.
Right. Yeah. Like log in anonymously so that because like you're not going to know like who's the person.
Yeah, and the reason you want to do that is because it's trying to like pull their data somewhere else, and that'll help slow it down. So those are the best things to do. So we jumped on it, and I've really enjoyed it. We use Presto Player. It just launched like a little while ago. By far the best video player for WordPress, in my opinion, because you can customize it, you can brand it, you can do a lot with it. I really like it. They have a free and a paid version. I would recommend checking it out because I know, like I said, you're on WordPress. I really enjoy it. We have the pro version because we can do things also like email opt-ins to watch a video. They're doing like banners, like call to actions on videos, and they're adding a whole bunch of really great marketing features, and it doesn't slow down your website. And it also integrates with BunnyNet, so you can actually just import your videos, do all that in there. I highly recommend it.
But it doesn't help you in SEO too, right? Like it doesn't. It's more like a private thing.
So it can. The reason it can is because you can actually go in and add in your own chapters on your video. So with those chapters, is because you can have it so the videos can be indexed, but it'll be obviously through your website, but it can give extra data. But the same thing is like you can use Vimeo, YouTube, something else if you want. So you can also take your YouTube videos and that kind of stuff. And they also allow you to add captioning on it. Right. So you can have the captioning files on there. And I believe it should, if you have the files uploaded to your WordPress website, and as long as you're not blocking them, it should be able, Google should be able to read them as well. So you can have extra stuff in there. Now, I don't know if that's 100%, so don't like 100% quote me on that, but at least from my understanding, it should. But like I said, for a marketing standpoint, one of the best video marketing players I think that you can use on the market. And of course, if you're not on WordPress, then
how much was the version of this thing?
So we got it when they launched, and we paid a lifetime license, and I don't remember how much we paid for it. Wow. Because it was like a few months ago. Yeah, so I'm part of like a crap ton of just stuff, and we're always out there looking at like what is like new softwares coming out, what are all that kind of stuff. We try to jump on a lot of beta programs, especially when it comes to like marketing type softwares, so that if there's something good, we can recommend it to people. And if there's something terrible, then I'm like, well, you
tried it. Yeah.
I'm like, don't use that. So we try to do that, but it's not, I don't think it's too much. Like I said, I don't know the pricing off the top of my head, but I would definitely check it out. And I recommend it to anybody that's using WordPress for sure. I love WordPress. I know that there's a love-hate relationship with a lot of people, but
the cool thing, the way I see WordPress is it's more, especially with combination with Elementor, it's more visual. So like for like a lot of like visual individuals, for like graphic designer or like people in here, basically it's like a lot easier to learn and a lot more fun because it's like it's very visual. But also it's like there's a certain expectation also that like you need to know like what's happening in the back end also, and then kind of like it would like really help like if you have like a back end like kind of point of view of like how this thing works and whatnot, and like so like that like so and then when it comes to like optimizing your website, it really goes down to like the coding part. like need to know like, okay, why is it important? Why is it not important? Why is it like what is the mentality? Like why you want to pay attention to this and why not? And like, yeah, those kind of stuff. So it's like it's very cool that like I get that question, the answer for you. Yeah, you should probably plug in your like website in here because I kind of want to test the PHP.
Oh, I mean, you totally can. I have no earthly idea what it is. I couldn't tell you. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's just scarygoodmarketing.com. You can go and do whatever. That's totally fine. It's probably like 5. I don't know. But Dale, I know you got questions. I know you do.
Man, how's it going?
Good, good.
Definitely. Well, are these specific like targeted questions, or what's the discussion that's kind of just
really I just wanted to make this an open topic on advertising, marketing, advertising. We did talk a little bit about website stuff. It all kind of goes in the same thing, but that's really what I wanted to do, is just kind of open this up to anyone that has those burning questions when it comes to marketing and advertising their business. And I know that that's kind of broad, but like I said, there's a lot out there to learn. So
it's a lot. It's actually pulling me in. Like I've been trying to work on the web series, but it's been hard to, because it's funny, because it's like before I actually, my whole thing is I want to be in the entertainment industry. Like that's the like, the glitz and glam and explosions and all that. So I'm getting the corporate money to pay for that. And initially I thought that I wouldn't really like it, but now that I'm in it, I actually really like it. Like I'm not even like, it's like, so I've been working on the website still. Like before I just hopped on this live, I was just tweaking the website. The wording on it is still it's getting closer. It's getting closer. I don't know if I got it there just yet, but I was actually going through the internet and I was looking to find there's like SaaS marketing companies, and that's all they do, and they niche down, and that's that's their stranglehold on the market. So I was looking at a lot of the terminology that they use, and some of the and even some of them, the bigger ones, well, really just one, but it was the biggest one, had a video marketing section, like an actual wing of what they do. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So, but I'm wondering, I'm probably, as far as I heard you talking about SEO a little bit earlier, but really, and that's kind of like what I've been working on. And I feel like I'm so in the weeds with it, and I'm trying to like think about like, oh, what's the psychological effect if I put this pronoun in front of are these this qualifier with this, like is this a little too much? So, but that's where I'm at with it right now. But it's getting there. I don't know. Right now, I'm still kind of. I'm trying to put it down, but it's tricky though. It's I'm in it.
Keyword research first before you proceed to copyright. Like do keyword research. I'm telling you, if you don't do keyword research, you might redo your entire website again. Like that's my perspective. I don't know if like Tim is going to agree.
Yeah, and the big thing is like keyword research. It's funny. I did a video like a long time ago. I think it's one of the first videos we did on our channel that talked about like SEO, and I can't remember. I can't remember if it was CEO, I think is what it was, but it was a customer optimization. Essentially, what it is the same thing as like SEO is important, but I feel like everything is a balancing act, right? Because there's some websites that I go to and I'm like, your SEO is on point, but this is a difficult website to read and just to get information. Like some people are crazy. I see that my score is 12, so don't feel bad on yours. What is that? I'm sure that ours will probably be picking up here pretty soon. We're revamping a lot of stuff on the back end, so I'm sure that it's not great.
Actually, it made me feel so good because, like, one, I'm not the only one that's having this problem. So it's like one, because like it's like misery loves company. I think like that's what it is. So it's like that's my perspective on that right now. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and like I said, it is important. It's something that we look at. To be honest, I probably should look at it more than I do. But like I said, it is important. But to me, I would much rather, like I said, like understanding the copy, understanding what I need to actually, do. Because the same thing is, I'm like, like cell phones are getting faster, internet's getting faster. It's also getting cheaper. Like, soon, like, of course you can't just throw anything and everything on your website. But that's the big thing is I think that that's important. And like you said, keyword research is important because if you can add in those certain keywords or phrases or any of that, and that's really why, like, whenever I know that you got it, Dale, but in the Scary Good targeting, that entire worksheet, like that kind of stuff in there, like understanding, like even the psychology of certain stuff, right? Like knowing the language that they use, all of that's going to help in that keyword research. Because like the same thing is like sometimes like whenever we do like keyword research, even whenever we look at like some of our local market, there's some stuff that doesn't really have that much search volume on a local level. Like, so for example, like we are not an SEO agency, and it's not because we don't think that SEO is important. It's not, to me, I don't necessarily enjoy doing it, and it's just not a service that we right now really want to offer. That can change, of course, just like anything. But like in our local market, SEO is the thing that everybody searches for. But like for me, we don't have any pages optimized for that because we don't offer it as a service. But we do run ads for those key terms. And essentially what it is it's like, we've run a couple ads that are like, do you want SEO is a long-term game. Advertising can get you clients today. Do you want to wait 6 months for your next client? And we run that on SEO targeted keywords. Because we know that people, the reason you're going to have SEO service done is because you want more customers. Like realistically, that's what it is. The reason you want to be higher in Google search is to get more clicks to your website, drive more traffic, and ultimately get more customers. So for us, I'm just telling people, because like most SEO companies tell you, well, SEO could take up to 6 months to a year to however long. And that's what I tell people is I'm like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying, do you have 6 months in your business to wait to get customers, or do you want customers today? If you want customers today, then come to our website. If you want customers in 6 months, go to the next link below us. That's the SEO guy.
So what's your opinion on getting a Fiverr guy to optimize for SEO? Because I did that maybe like a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, and it's just been chilling. So what's your opinion on that?
Can I insert something in here? Like my perspective, like the purpose of like me personally, like this is how I understood it. Like there's two like SEO keywords that you want to pay attention to. Like the first SEO words is like what you really want to be a long-term keyword. Say like something that you can't compete it with right now because of budget. Because like basically SEO is going to come down to like budget and can you own that keyword? Because like in terms of like Google, if you're not in the first page, like you're kind of irrelevant, right? Like so like you want to be on the first page. That is the main goal for like every business, right? Then the perspective on that is like if you want like a target keyword that's going to be like helpful for you in the long term, but it's very expensive right now. Say like your CPC on that one is going to be like $25 per click, something that you can't afford right now, right? Like basically keep that, but also have a secondary keyword that you can kind of own right now if you choose to advertise. Like say like something that's like particular to your specific location. So like, where are you? Like whatever city you are. So Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, so like video production in Memphis, Tennessee. If that's the keyword that you want to own, like then you can compete in there. Like say like the CPC on that one is going to be like $2.50. Then there's a possibility like somewhere down the line, like very short down the line, like a couple of months from now, that you can afford that $2.50. Like that's going to be there. So like one keyword that's going to be like long term, then second keyword that's going to be like short term that you can afford. But this is just like a perspective on something you can afford and then something like long term. But also there's a stupid rule that your copy cannot be like so long of a word, and it needs to be like well read, and then it needs to be more human, like if you understand what I mean, like not like geared towards Google algorithm, because like they can punish you for that too. So like I don't
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's really, you have, and that's why they say you have like your main anchor keyword and then your like long tail keyword. So like if you were in fitness, maybe you want weight loss is like the big keyword, but it's so competitive, right? Like it has all the search, but there's 15,000 million, right? Like you're competing with men's health, women's health, XYZ, all these huge companies. But then, like maybe your long tail keyword is something like, top weight loss program for women in Atlanta, Georgia, right? It still has that main keyword, and maybe that one's less competitive. But the same thing is like, to me, I'm like, that's really where understanding your customer lifetime value and how much you're willing to spend for something. Because like a lot of times, like sometimes whenever I tell people this, right, like let's say you have a product and it's $1,500. Are you willing to spend $500 to get a client, just one client that pays you $1,500? Some people, like if I just tell them like, yeah, you should spend $500 to get a customer, that like freaks them out. But I'm like, but if you're making $1,500, you're making $1,000. But that's the thing, is that's why, like with service providers and that kind of stuff, even when you run ads, my thing is I'm like, you should run that ad, however much money it costs to get that client, you should be willing to try and at least spend that much. So like if you have a service that's $1,500, I think that you should run an ad and spend $1,500 before you maybe decide that market, that XYZ whatever isn't working. Now granted, there's earlier times that you can check and evaluate and see if you maybe need to change the copy or you need to do that, but you should still be willing to spend that, because at the end of the day, even if I spent $1,500 and I got a client for $1,500, I know that our sales process and what we can offer, they're going to come back and work with us again. So I should at least be willing to lose, quote unquote, lose $1,500 to get a $1,500 client. Now, like I said, that's where advertising gets scary. That's where people have a hard time with it sometimes. But really the thing that I think hurts people in advertising is they just turn off their advertising way too quickly. And it's difficult because you're like, dang, I haven't made any money yet. Dang, I haven't made any money yet. And you sit there, you start your ad, it's running, and you sit there and you hit refresh and you hit refresh. How many people now went? How many people now? Trust me, it happens. Sometimes I do that and I'm like, wait, I need to pretend I never even started an ad and just let it run. Because like I said, sometimes that's just what it is. And if you haven't ever ran any ads, your account doesn't have data. It doesn't know. Like Facebook, you can tell it stuff, but it needs to optimize just like Google. It has to get that ad out there, find people try and optimize, try and do those things. It does, they're good systems. They just don't know instantly. They got to kind of, look at that kind of stuff. And that's why, past customer data or any of that stuff is useful, and why you need to continuously be collecting customer data, right? That's why you should have an opt-in on your website for something, right? A lead magnet or whatever. You should have your tracking data. Now, tracking data is, the landscape right now is a little crazy. Everything's changing. Everything is rapidly changing in how you can track people and how you can do that kind of stuff. But, you have to, I think that's something you have to keep in mind. Because like right now with all of the new iOS 14 with Apple is preventing a lot of data tracking, which is totally fine. But as a business, you need to realize that. So like if you're using Facebook pixels, if you're using cookie data, you're doing that kind of stuff, and that's way out of your scope of knowledge, that's okay. But all of that is changing. So like even if you start learning about it now, it may not be relevant in the next few months. There's new ways that data tracking is happening and that kind of stuff. So, and like for us, we literally this week, we had to go through and change out the way that we do our tracking and our attribution to Facebook ads and all kinds of, all that fun stuff. But like I said, that's just the way that it is, and stuff changes all the time. That's why I'm like, you can never really be stagnant in your business. And that's why I'm like, if you have a hard time with change, business is probably not for you.
So I had a question then. So what's your, so I'm in the process of building my actual personal website for Dale Harris Productions, which is going to house the web series and press and maybe I think in a blog, just those pretty much. Then that's pretty much it, really. So who is my website tailored towards? Is it tailored toward the end user, the fans, or the audience, or is it tailored towards some acquisition manager at Netflix, or like how Bittery is straight corporate. Corporate, like if you're a struggle rapper and you're looking for a music video, you should feel uncomfortable filling out that form. Like I don't know if Dale Harris Productions is the same type of, I ain't really hit you in the head with that much, so I don't really
the big thing is it depends on what your, like, what is the outcome that you want to have, right? Because like to me, I'm not saying that you couldn't build an audience and a fan base, right? I mean, if you think about it, like I can name a couple film directors that I enjoy, right? Like John Carpenter is one of my favorite film directors. He has a fan base. Now, does he have a website? I have no earthly idea, right? But my thing is though, like, it depends on what you want to do, right? Because like, is your goal to work with more studios and that kind of stuff? If that's the case, that's who I would tailor it to. Like the fans can follow you all day, whatever, and that's fine. Like to me, I'm like, you can just say that's what social media is for. But if you want your website to be primarily for people to contact you, that kind of stuff, and realistically, I feel like that's where like the personal brand stuff comes into play. And really, whenever you're looking at personal branding stuff, it's always going to be, in my opinion, geared a lot more towards media, as far as like you going out and doing media, right? If you want to go and do like, premieres, you want to do interviews, you want to do XYZ, that's, in my opinion, the thing that is going to be most important. Because like the fans can go and they can see like, oh, look, I can like, hire to be on a podcast, right? They could fill out that form if they wanted, and then you just vet out who you don't want to do media with. But I would gear it towards the media companies and that kind of stuff, because they're the ones that are going to sign more of the checks. They're the ones that you want to have the connections with and the relationships. Not that your audience you don't, because they're just as important, but realistically, I would look at just using your social media as more of like for the audience, right? People can follow you, they can see what you're doing, they can do XYZ kind of thing. But your website, I would gear it a lot more towards your personal brand. And really, I'd kind of think of it kind of like an IMDb page, right? Shows what you've kind of done. It kind of has that kind of stuff. And if you don't have an IMDb page yet, go and get one. I have one. So you should get one.
It's so confusing. Like it's
not easy.
Like I tried I made a little profile or whatever, and there was like 50 other Dale Harrises, and then I got even more confused. And then I actually found somebody on Fiverr who will set it up for me, and I just never got around to hitting them back. But yeah, I gotta get that and all the 50,000 actors and actresses credited on that, because they literally every 2 weeks I get a text about that. They're my head off.
Yeah, and in the industry, it is a big thing. It is not the most easiest platform. I mean, whenever I've gone on there and tried to like update my stuff whenever I was a makeup artist and I worked on a bunch of random stuff that have IMDb credits for, it is not. I'm like, dang, somebody needs to update this. I didn't realize we were like going back from like 2001 here, but But yeah, it's not easy. But yeah, I would definitely do that. But that's kind of how I would think of, not exactly, but the same kind of thing. Like make it easy for people to get in contact with you or reach out. I wouldn't just have like, here's my phone number and call me. But like if you have like a way to do like booking appointments or whatever, or allow people to schedule you on their calendar, that's kind of how I would look at doing it. For sure, because like I said, in the whole personal branding space, there's a lot of stuff. And the same thing, I would put every, Google tracking, Facebook pixels, all the things that I could, because the one thing is, everybody that goes there, I would literally just set up a retargeted ad that maybe just had like a mashup of the projects that you've done, and then like maybe like a little thing, like almost like how they do with what the crap is it, masterclass. How it's like, oh, here's like some of the things, and then be like, I'm Dale Harris and I blah blah. That's what I would do, and literally just have that as like a retargeted ad. And it doesn't have to do with like anything other than like, this is who I am, here's some of the stuff that I did, just to be in front of those people more often.
Definitely. I like that.
And you can have, like a stronger call to action if you wanted, like, I'm open to, podcast interviews or XYZ things. If you'd like to have me on as a guest, click the schedule button or book a button below, and then that can go to maybe your calendar, and they can look at what's your availability, and they can kind of book it that way. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but I would at least have something, because it's not necessarily like as hard of a sale, but it's just like anything. One is, people in the entertainment industry, it's all about like, how often do you see that person? And if you see that person a lot, you're probably, your expectation is that they're obviously important, right? Like if I see your face on Facebook and Instagram and then Snapchat, and then I go into like some website and there's your stuff, I'm probably going to be like, who is this guy that I keep saying? I remember seeing that website once or whatever. And now I just see him everywhere. Obviously he must be important. We should probably see if we can book him on, XYZ thing. And that's really with any business, right?
Definitely.
If people keep seeing you over and over and over again, it becomes a lot more difficult for them to not go with you, because when they finally make the decision to make that purchase, you're the one that they remember because they see you the most, right? That's why I'm like, Domino's is religious at sending me freaking emails like every day. And anytime that I'm like, man, pizza, Domino's is the first one. And I'm like, I don't even really care that much for Domino's, but they get me. I'm like, dang, you. But I'm like, you guys freaking send me emails every day, and I still haven't unsubscribed because they'll send me an email, and I'm like, pizza does sound good, and then I start convincing myself why I need more pizza, and but you know, same kind of concept.
Definitely.
How about filtering? You can also like use filtering, so you can like filter out like the B2C kind of component of your website. Say like in your form, like instead of like saying something along the lines of like just name, number, and then email address, like have something else like below it that's like customer is not going to be able to know like what's going to be like the production size, or I don't know, like
yeah, I mean, you can put in website, you can do whatever. I mean, there's so many things that you can do, and even like what we do is, and we're going through and we're revamping some of our intake forms. Like sometimes even when we run an ad and we're looking at getting leads, right? Like you can use forms to qualify people, and based on like certain things that you select in that form, we will either show you our actual calendar, or we'll just redirect you to another page that says, thank you so much, we got the stuff. Here's something that we think you may be interested in, because we know that that customer is not at the point where they could hire us. Like where their marketing is currently, it doesn't make sense for us to book a call, get on a sales call, because I already know that you're probably not going to be able to afford our service. So let me redirect you somewhere else to something I know that you're going to be really interested in, because I'm going to try and make it as appealing as possible. And that seems way more attainable, because it's a cheaper product or maybe a cheaper service that we have. But we're still delivering and being able to help you. Is just you're not at that level of hiring us yet, right? Because like I said, if I told you, you know, you need to, it's going to be a $3,000 setup fee, and then our management fee is going to start out at maybe $1,500 a month, and you really need to be spending at least $3,000 in ad costs. If you can't hit any of those, it doesn't make sense for us to get on a call and come up with all of this stuff.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
You know, and I don't want to waste your time either as a business for us to get on there and then you be like, dang, that's a lot more than I wanted to spend, you know. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because like if you're good at sales, then you should be able to move them to the correct product that they need, if you have a product that can fulfill that. If you don't, then I just think just tell them like, hey, we're not going to be able to work together. Like obviously, like it's not within your budget. It's not like it's a lot more than you were thinking, and that's okay. You know, like maybe come back to us now that you know, once you hit that level, and if you want an agency, we can be that agency for you, right? So
you can do like a way of like, instead of like saying like, what's your budget? Like you can say something along the lines of like, do you need a separate like crew for your like sound or something like so that means that it's going to be like an extra, like depending on like what's the cost of like your thing. You can say that so that it basically like filters out, like say like if you cannot even afford like the sound guy, like then we shouldn't even talk, because like you're not serious. Like if you only have a budget of like $300, it's like
and there's a lot of ways to disqualify people. I mean, it can be like specific, you know, and if you're working in more than one industry, it can also be industry, or if there's like a subset in that industry, right? So like, for example, if we were doing e-commerce, we could say, well, you know, if you have like a Etsy store, or you're a drop shipper, we're not an agency that works with either of those, but we may have a product that can teach you about marketing and advertising that would work better than us doing it, because profit margins in those are so slim that it makes more sense for that person to learn how to do it themselves. Because like hiring an agency to take on all of that as like a drop shipper, it just, unless you're drop shipping like crazy expensive products and your profit margins are really, really high, it doesn't make sense. But like if we ran an ad that was just general to e-commerce, we could have that as a disqualifier in our, I want to say survey, but our questionnaire or anything, right? It could be, there's so many things, and that's really why understanding your market, understanding, just certain things is going to help, and knowing your products, right? And that's why I like the product alchemy that we went through, Dale. That's why it's really important, as well as like the profit pyramid and all that kind of stuff. It just helps understand those kind of things, and then, like I said, once you kind of get into those, it makes things a little bit easier in understanding that. Yeah, and sometimes, like, go ahead.
You're doing this in your CRM form, right? Like on the intake of the customer, the disqualifier.
Say that again.
The disqualifier that you have, like for filtering out your clients, like you're doing it in the CRM form that they have to fill out, like immediately.
So normally, like I said, it depends. It depends on the funnel or the offer or whatever. So for us, we, regardless of whatever it is, right? So like, let's say we put an ad out and somebody goes to it, we can have just a simple opt-in that's maybe just name and email, and that's going to get them access to, maybe it's a lead magnet, right? That can get them access to that, and then it can go that way. We have them, so we can always retarget them. We can kind of have them, because, right, like, just because you can't afford it today doesn't mean you can't afford it tomorrow. So
leads is leads. It's like you don't want to lose that. Yeah.
So that's the thing. And then maybe we give you an additional offer, right? So that's the thing, is like, it all depends on how the funnel's being run, but then maybe you fill out the form, right? So we can track, okay, how many people opted in to just get the thing, then out of those, how many dropped off and didn't actually fill out the questionnaire form, and then how many.
How are you doing that? Like, I understand the initial lead coming from a CRM. Then how do you do like the secondary part, as like, how do you filter? Like, say, like, once they sign up the form, then you send them an email, and then like they find.
No, so the way that we do it is, we'll have. So in this example, let's just say that we were running a lead magnet, right? And we want people to come in and get whatever. They opt in for that. So they give us name and email, maybe phone number, right? But at the bare minimum, email. We get that. Then we take them to essentially a thank you page. But that thank you page,
thank you page,
is actually an offer. It says, thank you so much. We are emailing you that lead magnet. We're going to be emailing it to you. It's going to get there in 5 minutes. And then we give them another statement, right? So maybe the lead magnet was something about, like our Facebook cheat sheet, right? That's a lead magnet that we have. Maybe on that next page, I tell you, while you're waiting for your cheat sheet to arrive, do you want to see how we were able to take a business from only making $1,300 a month, and in less than 30 days have them go to $13,000 in sales? If so, click watch this video or whatever, right? They may watch it.
How do you capture like that? I mean, that person that went to the thank you page is that person, like, how do you know? Like,
tracking, analytical tracking. You can set it up in Google, you can set it up on Facebook, you can set it up UTM tracking. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And then, like I said, maybe that video.
The disqualifier. That is, you're going to have a follow-up disqualifier, right?
Yeah. So in that video, we talk about how we set up these ads, we did all this stuff. And if you would like to see if we could actually do the same thing for your business, below this video, there is actually a questionnaire form. Then they go and they put in their stuff. And what we have is, we have hidden fields that have, essentially, we take the original name, email field, we pipe that through a URL, and that gets pre-populated, so we know it's that same lead. They fill out that information, and then whenever they fill out that questionnaire, whatever questions in there are the disqualifying questions. Then once they submit it, let's say they're a a disqualified lead, right? They're not what we consider qualified. We would send them to a disqualified lead page that says, thank you so much. We got your questionnaire. We'll be in contact if it makes sense for us to do business. But in the meantime, here's a video showing you something or XYZ something, and then that can sell them on a completely different product. And then the email follow-up for a disqualified lead could possibly just talk about why maybe, instead of us doing the advertising for them, maybe what we do is we create a video ad for them. We don't do the entire setup. We just create a video ad for them. Maybe that's what that product is. That's why it depends on, like, you really have to know that. But then if they're a qualified lead, then we take them to a qualified lead page that says, hey, thank you so much. Here's our calendar. Pick the best date and time for us to jump on a meeting. They schedule it, and then we get on that call because we know they're qualified. And then throughout all of that, they're getting tagged in our email marketing system, as well as with the Google and Facebook tracking, and we end up piping the data back in, because with, like I said, the iOS 14 stuff, if you're an iPhone user and you don't allow tracking, we couldn't track that. But that's the thing, is we try to pipe back in the data so that we can see the attribution. So like when somebody gets to the thank you qualified lead, we have that as a event tag as scheduled. So we know everyone that's scheduled, those are people that are highly qualified. But people that come in and fill out the questionnaire, they're a lead, or they filled out an application. And then people that just filled out their name and email, they're just a lead. So lead, application, schedule. We track that, tag it, all
One more follow-up question on that. Like, so let me get this straight. Like the first form is just like name, number, email at best. And then the second form is going to be like watch the video, and then this is the pre-qualifier kind of thing. Like you make a decision here. So like the third one is like if they're qualified, and then the fourth one is not qualified. From like the 1 and 2, like from like when they fill up the form, how do you store the information? Like, can you do that in WordPress? Because like I'm using CRM.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. I mean, there's 10,000 different ways. So like if you're in WordPress, you can use just a form builder, and a lot of form builders integrate with email marketing systems or CRM systems, or some CRM systems just have forms that you can embed forms. Like I said, even if you wanted to go as cheap as like create a Google form and embed that, or like I said, there's any amount of ways to do it.
I guess the question is like, when they fill up the form, like I know the name and the email address, I want to pass that information into the second form. Like that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, so the way that we do it is the form builder that we have has all of the data. It can share it across
Part of your website
pages. But if you don't, a lot of the time what you can do is, I think it's called like link piping or something, where essentially at the end of the link, you take that data, and there's like a specific format that you use, where it could be like, Scary Good Marketing / opt-in / name equals, and then that data gets pre-populated based on what they put in there. And when that link goes to the next one, you tell your form, look at the data in the link and pre-populate it into this form, and you can use those as hidden like form IDs, so you're not asking for it again. Now, of course, you can, like if you're not technical and you don't know any of that, you can literally just ask for it again. Obviously, that's going to lower your opt-ins because you're asking for it twice. But to me, I'm like, that's better. One is, if that's what you got to do, I would still take that over not even doing it at all. Because the thing is 99% of people miss the mark when people sign up for a newsletter, an opt-in, whatever. they miss the mark on their thank you page. As soon as somebody opts in for something, you need to make them an offer. They are there, they're engaged with you. 99% of the time what happens is, like, even on a contact us form, people will fill it out and it just says, thank you so much for submitting your thing, we got your stuff.
Yeah.
That is a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah,
what you should be doing, yeah, Liza, it happens, and that's totally okay. That's why we're here, right? We're learning. Hopefully, hopefully I'm giving some value of some kind, like 1% maybe. But the big thing is as soon as they opt in, you need to, 99% of the time, I recommend you redirect them to a thank you page specifically for that opt-in. So if it's even a contact us, like, hey, I want to get a quote, I would redirect them that says, thank you so much, we got your information. And even just telling them what's going to happen next, or having a video explaining, like, hey, thank you so much for filling out a quote. What's going to happen is in the next 5 minutes, you are going to get an email from us just confirming that we got your information. Make sure to go and check that email. Make sure all of the stuff is correct. That way stuff doesn't get lost, because that's the last thing that we want. Check your spam folder, check any of that. If our email is in your spam folder, take it out, make sure to add us as a contact so you get our stuff. And then maybe the next thing is, like, it could even just be like, we've had a lot of people actually requesting work from us, and our calendar is getting booked like crazy. So if you have a specific date in mind, make sure to, I have our phone number down below. Give us a call right now to make sure that we can schedule that time. And now you're getting people to pick up the phone. Or you can even just say something like, hey, thank you so much. Right now we're running a special offer where every single person that decides to hire us to do a video, we're actually going to go and animate your logo 100% for free. But we're only giving this away to the first 5 people that actually call us right now. So there's a button right there that you can click to give us a call and let us know that you'd like to take advantage of getting a free animated logo. And now you're not waiting for people to get back to them. You're getting your hyper buyers to call you right now and make a deal with you right now. You're not waiting. You're not doing any of that stuff. And that's the big thing, is if you're not doing any of those, I think that you're missing out on a few sales, because those are the easy sales, right? Like if somebody's calling you and they're like, hey, I just saw the video and it said that I can get a free logo if I sign up. Great. Like, what is it going to take, like, to get signed up?
Yeah, I understand. And it's a psychology in, like, advertising and marketing, basically. Like, if you give them a timer, like 2-for-1 special deal, or like if you buy now, yada yada yada, like that's pretty cool. And then the thank you page, like, I'm not doing that, like, but I have a follow-up email of saying, like, once they sign up, and then here's the schedule, and then book it right away. Like, I didn't thought about, like, the link piping. Is that what it is? Like link piping in, like, WordPress?
That's what it's called. I could be completely wrong. That's what I think it's called. I don't know. I don't always know all the technical things on websites. So I probably should, but
I know the concept though. Like, as long as I know it can be done, I can do research on it. At least I know, like,
because you can pass data through a link, and you see it a lot. That's why, like, sometimes, and you can even do it where, like, on the thank you page, like if they fill it out, you can, and we do this sometimes on the thank you page, we'll put their name where it says, hey, Tim, thanks so much for booking. All of that's just being piped in because we just sent their name in the link. And then it's like, oh, like, it actually has my name. Like, that's kind of cool. And that just helps with, like, customer retention. It helps with some of that kind of stuff too. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do for sure.
Qualifying. This is more like a psychology of, like, advertising now. Like, close the deal right now.
Well, and my thing is I'm like, right, like, I would much rather have a thank you page and get nobody to call than not have one and never know if nobody wanted to get a deal now. Like, and that's my whole thing, is because I'm like, if you're not making an offer or you're not doing that, you can't expect people to just buy, right? Like,
Right.
You don't like a lot of the times, like the reason you buy something is because you saw it, you kept seeing it, you saw this or that, or there was a really good deal and you take action. To me, I'm like, you just need to consistently let people be able to take an action.
Yeah, the mindset is I'm already interested in it. Like that's why I signed up. So therefore, might as well close the deal now because like you're already interested in it. Like it's
Yeah.
like psychology. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, you showed some kind of interest, and the big thing is it's kind of interesting because the thing that it always reminds me of is, so like I used to work in a lot of haunted houses, so I used to help manage and run haunted houses and
It's a big market.
all that kind of fun stuff, and it was always one of the things that we used to have to tell people is like, as like actors inside the haunted houses, we had to tell people is like, you need to consistently move people forward. If you're not moving people forward, literally, and I've seen it, it's like the weirdest thing in haunted houses. If actors are not helping push people forward, people will literally stand just there and look like this is a wall, and they'll literally just stand there for like 5-10 minutes before they move. Your customer has to do the same thing. Your website, everything needs to continuously be moving them forward. Just like, you know, you have to in a haunted house. It's one of those like weird things that I would have never have thought would be similar, but yeah. And it's one of those things where if you just let people sit at like a wall and stare there blankly and not know, they will do it. Like you think that like, oh, like if this isn't the thing, like, you know, you know, like, oh, if there's nothing here, maybe I should look over here and go that way, or maybe I should look over here and go that way.
What if they punch the actor? Like that's yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing, and you gotta, like I said, you gotta do that. And to me, always be offering something else. And like I said, even maybe on the thank you page, maybe you talk about extra services that you have, right? That way, when they get on the call, they can ask you about maybe those upsells. They can, you know, you're not. That's why, like, a lot of people, when they tell me that the sales process is hard and it's hard to sell people, I'm like, have you done everything that you could before they ever got on that call to educate them enough about everything that they have, and just even give people more clarity, right? Like if they didn't know that you could, you know, have, like, maybe some people don't even know what a teleprompter is, even just explaining that, and they're like, dang, like I really need that. They get on the call and they're like, yeah, I saw the video and it talked about a teleprompter, and like, can you tell me more about that? Now that makes your sales process.
Does not think about like the closing part. Like the closing part is like I think the old mentality is like, if you give me a phone number, I will call you and then I will close there. But I think that your mentality is kind of like shifting into like, why wait until like the person is like called, and then like if you can close, or like give them like like they already made the decision to go with you before even calling you. Like that's your take on this. Like pretty cool.
Yeah, and my whole thing too is I'm like, you know, like especially if you're in a service-based industry or in any of that, like it's not uncommon that somebody's going to go with you and then they're going to go with another person and get a quote and do that stuff. But to me, like, if you're the only website that had like a thank you page that was like, hey, if you go with us now, or hey, here's some of the other things to XYZ, whatever, even if you said like, yeah, we offer a teleprompter and yeah, we offer that, and they go with somebody else and that person doesn't talk anything about that, they're like, man, I feel like this company doesn't really do a whole lot compared to that other company that I just came from.
The user experience psychology, like you want like the user experience to be like.
Yeah, and that's why to me, I'm like, even if you don't have like an offer, like, right, like always the like, if you call right now, you won't get one, but you will get two for no extra cost. Just pay $9.95 shipping and handling. It's the exact same thing, but the difference is I'm like, even if you don't have like something that you can offer, one is I would say find something if you can, but if you don't, at the bare minimum, all you should really be doing is trying to educate that person more on why they should go with you and the expectations of what's to come. Because
Or,
right, like
yeah.
I don't know, like that's just my whole thing is because really at the end of the day, most people don't move forward with something because they don't have enough clarity on it.
Mhm.
You don't just do something because you don't know anything about it. It's rare. Like most people want to know what's going to happen. If I do this, then what's the next step? And so you have to give people that clarity.
Great. Testimonials, how about that? Like, can you put like testimonials on the thank you page? It's like, so like, here's our other services that we have, and then like put a testimonial on the bottom kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of our thank you pages will have essentially like headlines saying thank you so much, like you're going to be getting your stuff.
Right.
Here's the next thing that's most important. That can be an offer, or even if it's just like, hey, here's what's to expect. Here's a video. Like, watch this video. It's going to give you all the information. And then below that, you can have, maybe logos that scroll by of past clients. Here's 3 testimonials of whatever. Here's a case study video of somebody else that we did and the results that we got them. To me, I'm like, it should essentially just be more sales. Another sales page, just reinforcing why you are the right choice. Because even if you have all of that and they don't look at any of it, just seeing that is more impressive than the little little text that pops up that's like, thank you so much. We'll respond in 24 hours, and then you don't see it, or you submit a form and you don't even know it was submitted. And then you're like, well, did they get it? Did they not? Like, there's not even a message or anything. And then I'm like, maybe. And then I feel uncomfortable and confused. And then even if I hear back from that company, that's the last thing I remember about them.
Yeah. Or like you're going to have a question of like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Like that's a bad thing. Like I can see it now. Like, but yeah, this is definitely a new door like that I never opened before. Like I never even like think about like, but very cool. Like, thank you so much. Very, very valuable.
Yeah, like I said, I'm, that's my goal is I'm like, even if it's just you two and I'm assuming one other person, that's all that I can see on my end of people that are here. So I'm like, if you guys get value, that's all that matters. I'm like, it's the people that take action and show up and do stuff and are willing to learn, that they're the ones that make it happen. So
I think your YouTube channel is going to grow. Like if you like walk them like step by step on like curate of like, okay, like let's talk about like keyword, like so something like that, and then like walk them through, because like it's stages in like you're a business owner, right? And then like, but you're gonna go through stages of like what's like important to you, like what's not important to you. First stage, yeah. I think that would be cool, like curate for you as an advertiser kind of thing. So like business of like making like $10,000 or less, like this is what you probably should pay attention to. Like
yeah. There's definitely different growing pains based on where you're at, size.
maturity.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and that's definitely something that I'll probably take into consideration. Like I said, I've slightly been slacking a little on some of the YouTube stuff, but yeah, we do definitely have a lot of content coming out. To me, YouTube's an interesting platform as a creator, and to me, like realistically, like yes, I would like to have more subscribers. One is just because I want more of our content to hopefully get out there and help more people. But like to me, like I'm not like I said, like this, I'm like, I only see on our end only that one other person is watching. Like to me, I'm totally okay with that, because I'm like, you guys are here. I got to have a conversation with you. Hopefully get to help you as much as possible.
I think like growing your YouTube subscriber can have a adverse effect on like, because the more I talk to you, like becomes like it's becoming more and more clear that you're like an expert in the field of like advertising, and then you have like the experience on it, like, and that's very cool. Like I think like if you open yourself up, like once like other business owners like discover your channel, and then like they like you're gonna have like an authority of like this is what I do, and like because that's your niche, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we literally do it every day, so that's why I'm like, I eat, sleep, breathe advertising.
Right.
You know, which I was like, you know, if you would have told me that that's what I would be interested in when I was in high school, I would have thought you were crazy, but that's okay. You know, people grow, people change, you find what you like and whatnot. So, yeah, so like I said, it is definitely something that I know that we are actively trying to grow. Sometimes it gets frustrating because I'm just like, I want to help more people. And I'm like, well, 5 people watched our video.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm thankful for those 5 people. I'm like, great. Like, I hope that you take something away and it really like can help you. You know, like I said, it's just chip away every day at those little things, and you'll get there. Like I said, because you know, I would love to say, you know, just like snap my fingers and bam, your business is golden. Like, I wish I could do that, but some people tell you they can, but
no, that's a lie.
I am not one of those. I'm like,
the other thing is like I noticed in your channel, like you're like long content all the time. Like it's not digestible. Like say like I would say like based on like the like do like a summary of like whatever we talked about in here. Like if you go and like summarize that in like under like 5 minutes or like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah,
that would be like more digestible content, like for like people.
And I know that that's it's definitely something I have to work on. I like talking is my problem. So, you know,
like really,
and that, and that's I know that that's one of the things that I have to be better at is like, because like I said, I mean, I just really enjoy the subject, so that's why I can talk a long time. But I'm like, I know that like some people are like, dang, I don't know, do I want to watch a 15-minute or a 20-minute or a 45-minute video of this random guy? So like to me, I get it from like an end user because you know, that's what it is. But it is definitely something that we're working on. Because like I said, I know it's one of the things I have to work on. Obviously, I'm the one in the content, so I have to work on making it a little bit smaller, make it a little bit better. But
like just the summary part, like basically something like I think in the end user's perspective, like if I see that it's going to be like an hour long and then like I don't know what they're going to be talking about. Like, I don't know if they're going to be like I don't have that time, you know, like then digestible content, like for you, like it's pretty cool. But to be honest, like not exaggerating, like content wise, like knowledge base of like things that we discuss, it's like very, very valuable. Like to me, like I'm going to use it definitely.
Definitely. A strategy that I've seen that a lot of people end up doing is they have like the long form content on YouTube, and that'll be like 15, 20 minutes or even an hour after it's like, or they'll go out and get invited to a podcast or whatever. And then they'll take it and then they'll take the 60-second clips or the 5-minute clip and then put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook. I think Facebook is like 3 to 5 minutes, and then Instagram is just you can do carousels or under 60 seconds. And then just keep funneling it that way. And then you almost get it. And then you can also take that content, transcribe it, and it can be a blog. So that same content can kind of get repurposed a lot of different ways. So that's what I was really thinking about on really both my companies. Because on the web series, I'm gonna be all the way honest. Like I've even explored like, for whatever reason, there's like a desire that like you don't want to push a movie on, like you don't want to, you give people a reason to watch it, and I definitely agree with that. But I'm thinking like, man, that's a lot of 60-second clips that can be broken down. As long as it's like a point or a laugh or like an engaging moment, and then that could be repurposed for social media. Just as much as possible. And then also on the corporate side, as far as if you did want to have actually I just watched one of your videos today. You were talking about actually growing your YouTube page. It was an older video. And you like take something like that, just find a good 5-minute, 3-minute section or whatever, and repurpose that out, and just saying.
Yeah, it's something I know that we need to do is do more repurposing. But the other thing is like for me, I'm like I do also want to practice shortening it up. Because one is I think it's also a good, at least, skill set. I think sometimes, like, can we try to distill things down as much as possible? But like I said, my problem is I do like talking. I do like sharing and that kind of stuff. So like I said, I know it's a skill set that I need to sharpen on my end, and I'm definitely working on it for sure, trying to work on it. But
I don't think there's anything wrong with your long form content. It's very, very relevant. It's very, very helpful. Like even like, I mean, like what we're talking about right now is like basically YouTube content. Like it can help somebody definitely. Me too. Like as there's a growing trend actually that the number of like subscribers that you have on YouTube kind of relates on the authority that you have on like the subject. Like if you basically like you have like 100,000 subscribers versus like somebody who has 1 million subscriber, like who am I gonna listen to? Like there's an authority kind of that place. Like it's kind of not fair, but that's the world. Yeah. So,
yeah, and that's the big thing is that's why I'm like, I don't, and to me I'm like, not that I think that I'm better or whatever than whoever else is out there, but to me, like I understand like those things. Like to me I'm like, yeah, like realistically, if I can help one person, I'm happy. If I can help 10 people, great. 100,000, 1 million people, great. Like same either way. But I do know that like what you said, it is that thing where it's like, oh well, they only have like 10 subscribers, they don't know whatever. And I'm like, to me, like some of the like tiny like YouTube channel, I'm like, dang, like I have learned way more from this guy that has like 10 subscribers than like some guy that has like 1 million subs over here, that I'm like, why am I even watching this guy?
Yeah, but that's how people go viral, because of like basically like, what do you have to offer me that like I can take away? Like it's not because of like YouTube or anything. Like most of the time now, it's not even about that. Like content now, it's not about like your looks. It's like value that you get from it.
But
like,
there is something in that though, because like
there is.
From my end, like when I'm trying to find an answer to a subject, well, the good thing about the long form content is that the shelf life on it is just so long that it makes sense to do it, because that same video can be employed like a year or 2 years later. So, I mean, that's just like the gift that keeps on giving. But when I'm actually searching for a particular answer and I'm looking for something and I just need a snap, and I don't have a go-to person, I do one of the things. Okay, I look at the video link. All right, you talking too much. I don't got 20 minutes to sit here, and then I look at really two metrics for me. The length of like, okay, who can be the most concise, and I can be in and out, because I'm the type of person, if it's like a how-to video, I put it on like 1.5 speed, and then I'm just flying through it. I'm like, yo, just get to the punchline. I'm trying to move to the next thing. And then the second thing I look at is the video count. I don't know if it's flawed thinking or it's in line, but it's the way I think and have been thinking, that the video with the higher view count has more of authority, or the people.
It comes down to social currency. Social currency is just like a cognitive bias. It's like if somebody has more likes, they have more shares, they have more subscribers, they have more whatever, right? Like it comes down to like FOMO, right? It's like, well, if 10,000 people watch that video, it must be good, versus that video that has 10 views must not be good. Even though it's like, well, that video could have been posted like 5 minutes ago and only had 10 views on it, right? But it's like, and like to me, like I understand that, and that's why I'm like, I understand why we need to do, like why I need to try to shrink my content down, because it's just like that. It's like, I don't have time, and it's like, a 20-minute video can completely change everything, but because like you're like, I don't have 20 minutes, even though realistically most people will spend 20 minutes watching, I don't know, weird stuff on the internet anyway. It's all within perspective. And like, to me, I'm like, I'm not like, I'm not, I guess, oblivious to that. Like some people are just like, whatever. I'm like, no, like psychology is a big thing. Like it's the reason you do everything.
Before you even watch the video, you already make a decision on the video. Like,
But now, oh, you go.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but now you're doing it right though. Like, my opinion is just like the cream will rise to the crop or to the top. Just keep putting out enough value, and then people really can't deny it. Because I mean, I had the same issue of being a no-name director trying to track down a bunch of actors and get them to believe in me to stop what they're doing and come and be a part of the project. I mean, regardless of how well I presented myself, or how good I thought the idea was, or whatever I thought I had going for me, there were still people that was just like that. Even though they didn't explicitly say it, in the back of my head, I know like
they judge you.
and Google my name and like my IMDb page, and glowing comments and 5 stars and all that comes up. It's easier to sell. It's an easier sell than not having it. But that comes with time.
I have a bad experience about that. Like at work, like basically, like I used to work in a company, like I'm gonna mention it, like, but anyway, like it's making like $1 million deals, and then it's like for some odd reasons, like the mentality on that is like if you present an old guy like that's going to present the deal, like it has like more of a like positive feedback, like right from the get-go, versus like if you present it with like a young guy, it's like, what does he know? Like he's
like that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've even just even like along the race lines, like of like, so for Bittery Media, I mean, I consciously made the decision that I did not want whoever got or to get on the website, I did not want you to know I was Black. Not because I'm not trying to hide it.
Oh yeah, like
I am Black.
yeah.
I don't even want to give a person a reason to possibly put an asterisk in their mind.
Yeah.
So and people don't need a reason to be racist. They'll just do it. So I'm trying to
Yep, people are crazy. Like I said, the more I think I know people, then something happens, and then I think I know nothing about people. It happens all the time. So
yeah, like there's a new trend now about like labeling your company. Like, what's your opinion on that? Like Black-owned businesses, like is it kind of racist? To me, it is kind of racist. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like anything. To me, I think it just comes down to. Really, it's just psychology. I think to me, I could care less. I could care less who you are, what you are, like whatever. But it's just like anything. I think that if you, I don't know, like there's like plenty of times that I think that, like if you're a minority-owned business or whatever, like you can get better tax breaks. So to me, or like, like you can get like grants or you can get whatever. One is I guess I'm not really against or for it. I'm like, if you want to take advantage of that and you want to do whatever, I'm like, I think you just have to realize that like you could potentially pigeonhole yourself. And if you're okay with that, then that's totally fine. Like, like to me, like one is I kind of, it's interesting because I think that a lot of people sometimes think that I'm not Hispanic, because I just don't always look Hispanic. I don't like, so it's just one of those things. That's why, like, whenever I tell them, I'm like, yeah, like my last name is Cedillo. They're like, oh, like I didn't even know, like, and it's just one of those things that's kind of funny. And to me, I'm like, I don't really care. Like, and some people care, and I'm like, if you care and that bothers you, then like, let's just not do business. I'd rather let's just move on. There's plenty of people out there. To me, I think it is a little odd, but that's my opinion. I don't like. I don't think I would like. I think it would be odd if I was like, we're a Hispanic-owned business, or like we're not a Caucasian, like we're a Caucasian-owned business, or we're a like. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just odd to me, but like I said, I understand why people do it, because like I said, I mean, like there are plenty, like where I'm at, I'm in New Mexico, there is a lot of Hispanic owned businesses, and like Chamber of Commerce, like there's the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and like everyone is like, oh, you're Hispanic, I'm Hispanic, we do business together because we're similar, and like similarity bias is a thing. But like to me, I think it's, to a degree, I think it's a little bit old school thinking.
The mentality is like birds of the same feather like flock together. Like that's the mentality of that, I think, like that. Really.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I think that the only time that there may be something wrong and is if you choose not to do business with somebody because of their race or their background. To me, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's why I said, I'm like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're, you know, white, black, Asian, purple, what, it doesn't matter. I'm like, if you have a product or service that can benefit me and can help me, then let's do it. Like, I don't make buying decisions or decisions off of any of that. So like, to me, it's a foreign concept. Like, I would never just pick a business based on that. But the same thing is like, I understand it more from like psychology, but that's why I said, the more you learn about psychology, the more I get confused about people and why I'm like, I now know why they do it, but it still doesn't make that much sense why you would do it.
Yeah. Would you like recommend that in terms of advertising, like to like say like put a label on like say like we are a black-owned business in a video? Or
I mean, like I said, I think that that's 100% up to you. I mean, if you, like I said, it depends on your brand, right? Like for us, like the thing that I know a lot of people like in any psychology, advertising, anything, like the last thing you necessarily want is to have like a weird or eerie or uncomfortable kind of feeling sometimes. But like a lot of the stuff that we have, like, right, like skulls and bones and like that stuff that a lot of people would say is not like, you probably shouldn't put in advertising. That's stuff that you shouldn't do and like whatever, like, and not saying that we're like doom and gloom and whatever. But like to me, I'm like, it's one of those that I'm like, as long as you think that it's within your brand, you can do it. You know, I think it all comes down to how you want to be perceived, what your brand is. And there's nothing wrong with whatever, right? Because perception is reality. The way that people perceive your brand, that's the reality of your brand, right? Like, you know, and there's, you know, and I think that you can change it, you can modify it, you can adapt it for the times, you know. I mean, look at all of the companies that update their logos and update all of that stuff to be more modern, more XYZ, whatever. You know, so I think it all just depends. It's all marketing, psychology, tactics, or whatever. And that's why I'm like, I don't say don't do it, but you know, like to me, I'm like, me personally, I wouldn't do it in my brand, my business. Like that's just not my, I guess, how I want my brand to be represented. But if you do, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's a reason people do it. It obviously makes money, so that's my thing. You know,
kind of like what you said. It really depends on your niche. Using like leaning on that, it is a good way to build like an instant community. So I think that's probably one of the reasons, the biggest reasons. And plus, there's you know, you kind of what you say, you want to
camaraderie kind of thing.
Camaraderie, and you know, you like, okay, if I see this is somebody advertising as a black-owned business, I'm more likely to support them because one, I'm black. I know how hard it is, and if I gotta spend my money, I'd rather spend it with a black person. I'm like, I'm like, okay. So, but
would you do it though? Like in your advertising, like would you like label yourself?
Yes and no. Yes, I am doing it, and it's interesting. You said going back earlier what you said to him about a personal brand, because that was the first time I even really thought about like, okay, personal brand in the terms of, well, everybody has a brand whether you like it or not. Like, and I've never even really thought about that, and I probably should give more thought about to that. But would I do it in the corporate space? With me, like, I started Vittery Media for the sole purpose of no, this is a green money. I'm here to get some money. Like this like straight up. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a sense of like you're kind of like curating your company. Like, I think like the second that you label yourself as like, this is a Black-owned business, like not to be racist or anything, like there's a sense that you're curating yourself. Like, I kind of just want to target like.
No, because what happens is it happens anyway. It happens anyway. To be honest with you, you don't even have to put that label on yourself. So like I worked for
that's like a forefront of the brand. Like
no, I'm saying like people. It happens anyway. Like you don't even have to say it. I worked for a Black-owned architecture firm for the majority of my career, about 4.5 years. Preeminent firm, like resume-wise, can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the city. But what happens is there's just something in people's psychology, even though it wasn't marketed as a Black-owned firm, it's just
prejudice.
For whatever reason, white people tend to not patronize it unless they're just like more open-minded than the average person.
Yeah.
So it filters itself out anyway. So what ended up happening was we luckily in a city like Memphis, it's actually a majority Black city anyway. The corporate sector is not majority Black at all. But what happens is we ended up doing business with a lot of the Black-owned entrepreneurs in the city.
Yeah.
By just the fact though, by just like we're not even trying. It just is what it was. You know what I'm saying? Like for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, word of mouth, any of that stuff, and that's the whole thing. Is that's why I'm like, I think that it's either way. I think you own it or you just like either way. I think as I said, I don't necessarily know if there's right, wrong, whatever. To me, like when I'm hiring or whatever, it's not anything that I care about, but that doesn't mean that, there isn't a market out there for it, because there definitely is, like I said. And
in terms of advertising, would you do it though? Like
the big thing is I guess it'll depend on the platform, because some platforms it's a little gray area sometimes. It's not too bad, but yeah, I mean, to me, I'm not against anything. I think test it. If you get, I mean, obviously my thing is if you're going to do that, one is you can't target based on like race, right? But you can target like language, that kind of stuff. You can't necessarily like do that. Like, I can't go in there and be like, I only want to show this to Asian Americans, right? Now there are things that you can do, right? Just like that's why one of the things that they say in advertising is you do use a lot of stereotyping. So like if there is like restaurants or books or shows or any of that have a predominant, whatever race that consumes those things, that's what you put in your ads. And I would just test it. Like, to me, I'm like, I'm not against anything. I'm like, if it brings you in, $100,000 in the next 30 days, I don't, so be it. I mean, other people are doing it. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. To me now, I don't think that you should go out and be like, I'm a better business because I'm, Hispanic and, white people businesses are bad. I don't think you should do that. But,
they're even using it like for like the other one that I saw was veteran-owned businesses. It's like they're like advertising like because like I think the market is like saying like if you I work with a military and then like I have the authority, basically I can like follow procedures and whatnot, and we have like quality in mind kind of thing. Like so like they're taking advantage of that too. It's like but like I don't know, like to me, like my perspective is like in terms of like personal brand for you, like basically like you're trying to like get a target based on a certain prejudice, and then like I guess in terms of like business, if you take out like personal feelings around it, like whatever works. Like it doesn't really matter, right? Like
yeah, and my whole thing is I'm like, as long as you're doing it ethically within the law and like that kind of stuff, like I don't really see that big of a problem with whatever it is. Of course, like to me, I'm like, I don't think that you should coerce people into doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or get people to do things that you know are not good for them, or any of those things. But I'm like, like if that's why, like at the end of the day, I'm like, if somebody wants to hire you, I think that whatever it, like, to a degree, if you have those qualities and you have those things and you can actually provide a product to what you say you can, right? Because I can't just be like, hey, hire me and I'm going to make you $1 million in like 2 minutes. Like if I can't do that,
yeah.
I shouldn't advertise that, right? Granted, you can't advertise that anyway, but right, like as long as you can actually deliver on what you're saying and
truth in advertising, but also there's a prejudice in advertising. So like personal prejudice.
If I was a veteran, I would definitely put a veteran on business, because the veteran is different. Like people love the troops, and that goes against pretty much party lines, race lines, and there's not an act. Even if you're anti-war, you're still usually pro troops. So like, and this, I would definitely use that as a hack to build community.
I think the military actually won on that. Like they have a perception that like if you work in the military, therefore like you're very trustworthy people. But the truth of the matter is like people are people. Like so it doesn't really matter like where you are. Like there's bad people everywhere. So like it's definitely like a win for the military, because like basically they have the perception that if you're in the military, you're an automatic hero per se. But I know that there's like drug addicts that after like they signed up, like they become like bad people too. Like so like it's not necessarily true, but there's prejudice that's saying like they want.
There's bad people in all aspects and everything. And that's why I said, to me, I'm like, if one is, I'm like, if you feel comfortable with it, and that's, like I said, I think that that's really what it is to me. Like, and if you care about it, then great. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with, caring about XYZ things. But like I said, it all just comes down to what I think is like,
personal preference.
Ultimately, what's your what are you comfortable with, and what do you want your brand to be, right? Because like that's the whole thing. It's all branding and all that kind of stuff. But I am going to wrap up here very, very shortly. Do you guys have any final questions?
Yeah, just one quick question. Have you read any good books on like personal branding, or any resources or anything like that? I mean, I can Google it, but
personal branding. I'm trying to think if I have any books that I have read on like specifically personal branding. I don't know if I have any in particular. I'm trying to look through here.
If not, no worries. I mean, I can give it an Audible search or YouTube search or whatever. Is this something I'm like by de facto? I have a personal brand, but it's funny, even though I'm kind of like reluctant in this whole with the whole relationship, because I haven't actually, before I actually started this film thing, I didn't even have social media. So it's like, all right, now I have to have social media. It's my job to post, and I have to maintain a personal brand.
Yeah, the only one that I can see that I guess could fall into that is it's called The Like Switch. It was by I think it's a ex-FBI agent something. Essentially, it's how you get people to like you and that kind of stuff, and how you build trust and that kind of stuff. It's an interesting book. To me, really a lot of like personal branding, and even just like regular branding, it's pretty much the same to a degree. The only difference is that you are the brand, right? And it's just like anything, like the way that you present yourself, the way that you like everything, right? I think that the big things that a lot of people miss when it comes to personal branding is it's just like, right, like the first 5 seconds that people see you, hear you, that's what they're going to be building off of everything. That's why, like, one of the things that I always, you know, goes to like kind of like dating and stuff. Whenever you always hear like some guys that are always like, oh, well, you know, the only reason he gets all the girls is because he works out, or oh, the only reason he gets the girls is because he has a nice car, or oh, he only gets the girls because, you know, he dresses nice. You know, whatever it is. But the thing is that I always tell people is I'm like, okay, well, if that's the only thing that you need, why don't you go out there and do that thing? Like, anybody can go and work out and become fit. Anybody can go and buy nice clothes and become XYZ, whatever. And I think that the big thing is figuring out, like, who do you want? Like, when people see you, what are the feelings? What are the impressions? What are, like, what do you want them to have? And that's who you need to become, right? Because, like, if I came on here and I was in, like, a raggedy t-shirt and, like, some sweatpants and whatever, I'm probably, like, that doesn't help me as an authority person, right? Like, and not saying that, you know, the only reason I wear a suit and whatever is because of authority. I actually really do enjoy wearing suits, but, like, it's one of those things that, like, if both of us had to go out and probably make a sale just based on, like, the way that you look and stuff, you probably want to put your best foot forward.
First impression.
You know, and it's all that kind of stuff. And the same thing, like the language that you use, like the vernacular that you use, right? Like, if you can sometimes talk at a higher level and sound more like intelligent, more people are going to perceive that, even if you're not, right? That's why I think, like, one of the things that's very interesting is, like, the what is it called? Man, it's an old school term and I can't think about what it's called, but essentially when you have people that social climbing, a lot of that is like the same kind of thing, right? Like, if you want to hang out, you know, like, if you want to hang out with people that make millions of dollars and do a lot of stuff, you need to align yourself with the same things that they do, right? Like, the clothes that they wear, the cars that they drive, the places that they live, the vacations that they take. If you immerse yourself in that, you become that. That's where you're going to be, right? But, and that's why, you know, sometimes I'm like, people just, you know, it's the same thing. It's just like, you know, if you're, like what we talked about, if you're a Black-owned business or you're a veteran-owned business or you're XYZ, it's similarity bias.
Yeah.
People are attracted, normally people are attracted to people that are in a higher position than they are, or people that are very similar to them. It's very rare that you're attracted to somebody that's complete opposite of you. That's why I always think it's funny whenever like opposites attract, and I'm like, not always. Like, if you're not very, like, you know, if you're with the times and you are with somebody that's like maybe really racist and like really old school mentality thinking, more times than not, you're not going to get along with that person. More times than not, you're not going, like, there's going to be so much friction there, you know? And that's why sometimes, like, it's that whole thing of, like, you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most.
You know, I heard a super dope quote by, do you know who Buster is? He's a, well, you don't watch sports, but he's a big, he's only 20 years old, but freaking genius. Literally genius, like, for real. He had a quote that, like, you're the 5, or you're the product of the Instagram pages you follow, and kind of building off instead of like your 5 closest friends. And it's like, well, when you think about it, especially coming off of a pandemic, like, you spend more time on Instagram than you do with your friends, probably out mingling or whatever. But, you know, it's all what the energy you consume, you know, it becomes your diet. So I believe you 1000%. For sure. It's just interesting, like, personal brand is just like, it's me. Both the companies are so different, like so different. Like, Dale Harris Productions is named after me. It's a lot more authentically me.
Because you made it like personal to you, because like your brand production is like basically like, because like I intentionally, to me, like what I did with my company is like I intentionally take out my name out of it. Like, my company is Obis Up, and then like my I'm Mark. Like, I have no connection whatsoever to the brand that I created. Basically, like, the brand that I created is like something that's going to be like pertaining to the company. So
Yeah.
therefore, like I'm trying to like make sure that like the company's like name is like nothing attached to, well, I mean, it's not like nothing attached to me. Like I want it to have its own identity kind of thing. Like, but if you put your name on it, like I think that would be like, one, it's already a prejudice because like you're now attaching your name to your brand. So therefore, like your brand's going to be like with you. So, but like, I don't know, like, how do you want it to be perceived as? Like, then that's the question of like personal preferences of like what you want to do with it. Like, so like in your case, like I think you're going to need to put your face in your brand kind of thing. Like you need to have like a personal, like this is Dale Harris, and then this Dale Harris is this brand. Like, so that's how you're going to do it. Like scary good marketing is like, I think the like if I didn't know you, like the first thing I was going to like, why is there like a thriller kind of vibe like going on in here? Like, so, and then like I learned like from like personal experience that you have a background in Hollywood and like, yeah, so that kind of makes sense. But I think prejudice can hurt you and help you at the same time. Like for people like that's kind of like attracted to your personal prejudice will be more attracted because of that personal prejudice. But people that does not like, say like in scary good marketing, if I don't like thriller or like scary movies, there is going to be a bias on your thing, right? Like I don't know, like that's my perspective on that. So like I don't,
yeah, and like for us, like one is I didn't name the company after me at all. One is because nobody would be able to say my last name, and I didn't want to have a company that nobody could say. But two, like even with my personal brand is actually like a byproduct of scary good marketing. So my personal brand tagline is I am the scary good marketer.
oh,
So I'm Tim, the scary good marketer. So they're tightly in there, but that was done on purpose.
yeah.
But yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is that's why I'm like, you know, to me, I'm like, we named it Scary Good Marketing because the way that we present and do stuff with our brand has a certain look and feel to it. And I'm okay if you're not comfortable with that. One is marketing and advertising is scary. It's uncomfortable. And if you're not comfortable with our name and our brand, you're probably not going to be comfortable at all with marketing and advertising. So you're probably not going to be the best fit for us. Like I said, there's a lot of things in there. That's why it literally took us like,
It's not only an impact, by the way. The name,
what?
the name, your name, the name of your brand, Scary Good Marketing, like it doesn't have like an instant impact. Oh, I get it. Like it doesn't have that impact to like your name of your company with you, with your background, and then like the field itself that it's scary. It doesn't like click. It click right now to me.
I would probably say the opposite. Like, well, I personally like. I like it. I like the name. I'm not necessarily into like the horror movies, but I mean that doesn't really have any effect on me either way. But now there's actually a marketing firm called like No Good Marketing or something like that. And I was familiar with that firm, and I always thought that was a curious choice for a name, like No Good Marketing. But I mean, I actually visited the website one time. It was actually, they had some client lists. They had a decent client list. But with me, it's kind of like somebody asked in that same book that I mentioned, the third door. They asked like Bill Gates if he was like self-conscious about going in at like 20 years old into these boardrooms selling Microsoft and doing and making all these huge deals with like IBM. And Bill Gates was just pretty much like, when I open my mouth and all this value comes out, you ain't it ain't.
It's not gonna be. You're not gonna pay attention to the marketing.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but there's a bias, like, because like first impression matters. Like,
and the big thing is in my opinion, your brand should attract and repel people. Like, I know that not everybody's gonna like me and whatever, and that's totally fine. Like, and I don't like everybody either. So, you know, so to me, my big thing is I'm not trying to be liked by everybody. You know, and that's okay. Like, because I don't like everybody, and so I can't expect the same. So, yeah, it's one of those things that I don't. You know, there's some tried and true things, but it's just like anything. You know, as long as you're providing on what you say you are, because like I said, I mean, think of how many people say that they hate McDonald's, but they still go and eat McDonald's.
They still know McDonald's, like they still mention it, and then they're kind of helping McDonald's actually, like putting on Instagram, like, I hate McDonald's. Like, it's like you're helping them, like you're like reaching out to like you're not actually destroying them, you're helping them, like even though you're not eating there. It's
it's crazy. But anyway, I have to go. Like I said, I would love to stay and talk more, but I am starving.
Yeah,
and I have some other things. So thanks for jumping on. Thanks for chatting. Hopefully that helped. Like I said, I know we kind of talked about quite a bit of different things, but yeah, like I said, if you need anything or you have any questions, you can always reach out. Let me know. I'll try and answer any questions that you have. But until next time.
Your service? Like well, before we go, like what's your service, like how much do you offer, like for like helping out like somebody like one-on-one, or like
a lot.
Okay. You're not gonna tell it here.
I'll just leave it at that. A lot of money. So no, like I said, I mean, we give away a lot of free content. If you're interested, obviously you can go to scarygoodmarketing.com. Everything should be there. If not, then, you know, it will be at some point. But yeah, like I said, just reach out, let me know. We can figure it out. We can work on all the things. But until next time, I will see you.
Thank you.